Good morning. My name is Bill Dolman. I'm the Director of Parks, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. Excuse the hunchback look, but I think you have to get close to the microphone to be heard, and I'm 6'1". As Director of Parks, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, I would like to extend a welcome to everyone for gathering here for this momentous occasion. And I would like to begin by introducing some of our special guests very quickly. I'll not cover all of them because some of them are going to get to speak themselves. We have Judge Bobby Martinez from Presidio County. We have Judge Tom Connor from Brewster County. The Superintendent of the Terlingua School District, Mrs. Stovall. Derek Hamby from the Alpine Chamber of Commerce. Clark Legate from the Presidio Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Robert Anderson, Mayor of Presidio. Mrs. Geneva Basham, Mayor of Marfa. Mr. Ernesto Gallego, Mayor of Alpine. And plus some very special guests who are up here at the on the platform. I would also like to introduce some of the staff from Parks and Wildlife. We just happened to have a staff meeting in Indian Lodge last night, so there is probably a bigger turnout here than we would normally expect. We have the Director of Fisheries, Dr. Gary Matlock, somewhere in the audience. Gary would not normally be looking for fish here as opposed to the coast quite as much. We have also the Deputy Director of the department, Mr. Jim Dickinson, on my left. And then we have the other distinguished guests who will be introduced individually. I would also like to recognize that in addition to our honoree, Dr. Warnock, we have numerous family members here as well. With that, I view my job as to try to keep this moving, and so I will stop with my remarks and begin with some special introductions. First of all, I would like to introduce the man who has developed this area, who has put a lot of his heart and soul and cash into it, and the man from whom we acquired at a very low price this particular property that we're going to dedicate today, the Barton Warnock Environmental Center, Mr. Walter Misher. Could you step forward, Mr. Misher?
Thank you, Bob. I think this is phase one or step one in accomplishing a mission that will really do something for this area and provide something for the people of the state of Texas that come to this area. Surprisingly enough, a lot of people in the state of Texas don't know this is here. And I want to thank all the Park and Wildlife group for their indulgence in this area, and above all that, Andy Sampson, and I guess Bob Armstrong has probably been working on this project for 25 years that I know of. But Andy, you have to watch Andy. He'll take the shirt off of you back. I had a rag and that on him, and now he has it. But I think this is a great tribute to Barton Warnock, and he has put so many hours in this, and I'm sorry that Virginia Madison couldn't be here. Barton and I were going to start an arboretum in the desert garden, and Virginia conned us into starting a museum. So we wound up, of course, you know how women are, we wound up with a museum. But I want to pay a little tribute to someone that was patient with us in all this period of time, is Rural Warnock.
want to tell you, we haven't used our dining room table since this museum started because he had the plans all over the table, you know, and we got out of the habit of eating in the dining room. But I'll put these on the table. I'm just having meal in the dining room.
I want to lastly say how much I appreciate all the support that all of you have contributed to starting the museum and helping it acquire a lot of the things that it has. And without your help, it wouldn't be what it is today. And thank you for the attention.
Our next speaker, who would be no stranger to you, since I presume many of you voted for him, is the representative-elect from this district, Mr. Pete Gallego from Alpine. Representative Gallego.
It's unusual that we have such a large crowd of state officials with us, and we couldn't have picked a better date for it, I think. Today it is significant not only for its beauty, but also because it marks a new beginning. A new beginning not only for the museum, but a new beginning of involvement for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department in this area. I think all of us, one of the most important things that we think about is leaving a legacy for our kids. And for those of us who grew up in this area, this museum in this area is going to be just that, a legacy that we can leave to our kids. So I congratulate Parks and Wildlife Department and particularly Dr. Warnock and Mr. Misher and the others who were so involved in bringing this to life. Thank you very much.
Another person who is no stranger to you, speaking on behalf of our dear neighbor, the Big Bend National Park and the National Park Service, Mr. Jim Carrico, Superintendent of Big Bend.
Thank you, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Executive Director Sampson, Barton Warnock. It gives me great pleasure to represent the National Park Service here today. My boss, John Cook, Director of the Southwest Region of the National Park Service, regrets that he could not be here to participate in the dedication of this wonderful facility to Barton Warnock. Dr. Warnock has been a friend and associate of Big Bend National Park since its establishment in 1944. Is it not remarkable that here we are in 1990, celebrating the dedication of an environmental education center to him that will serve the newly established Big Bend Ranch State Natural Area and that will link the National Park Service and the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department together to serve present and future generations of visitors to the Big Bend region. We at Big Bend National Park are particularly proud to be associated with a new cooperative venture between the two agencies to provide these services in Lajitas. The Big Bend Natural History Association, of which we will learn more in a few moments, will operate this new facility. We in the National Park Service, and I think I can accurately speak for Texas Parks and Wildlife, are also interested in serving our neighbors well. Our neighbors, among other things, provide services such as food, lodging, and supplies to the park visitors who come here. So this education center can also become a community center, a place where we can gather to exchange ideas and information and to increase our understanding of one another and to strengthen the ties between us. With some concentrated effort, we can make this happen. Thank you very much, and thank you, Bart. It's not every day you get a chance to pay tribute to someone who you've known and respected for a good part of your adult life. And today, for me, it's both an honor and a pleasure to be here this beautiful November morning to join with you on this wonderful occasion and to greet you on behalf of the Big Bend Natural History Association. Thanks to the foresight of an early-term Big Bend National Park superintendent, the late George Miller, and a handful of local businessmen, Paul Forsheimer, Jim Francois, and the late Peter Koch, 35 years ago, the Big Bend Natural History Association was established to promote the popular interpretation of the scenic, the scientific, and the historic values of the Big Bend country. During this period, the association's publication program and other educational undertakings have gone a long way in championing that very important mission. Over the past 16 years, my association with the Big Bend country has been, without any doubt, the most important part of my life. And it goes without saying that great friends like Dr. Barton Warnock have been a continuous inspiration. For 35 years, the Big Bend Natural History Association has developed a strong and fruitful partnership with one of the most important governmental organizations in our country today, the National Park Service. Today, as we also join hands in a new relationship with another very important conservation organization, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, it is fitting that we honor a Big Bend celebrity who is recognized as a leading conservationist by professionals throughout West Texas, who has done so much to help us all understand how important it is to preserve and protect our natural heritage. Yes, my friends, it is truly proper that we name this newly acquired facility the Barton Warnock Environmental Education Center. Let all who visit this place come to know the love we all share, the love for the natural wonders of the Big Bend country. And as they come to know this land, let them become more inspired and encouraged to action as they develop a better understanding of nature's delicate balance and the role that all of mankind must play in preserving that balance for future generations. Thank you very much.
Having the privilege of testifying before the Natural Resources Committee of the State Senate is to try to anticipate and respond to the incisive questions asked by your own State Senator, Bill Sims. Would you please join me in welcoming your distinguished State Senator?
Thank you very much. It's certainly a pleasure to be here, certainly to pay tribute to Mr. Warnock and all the work he's done, but also to Mr. Misher for the farsightedness of him. And I was thinking there couldn't be any two men that better represent this country, because they're both tough looking as hell and they're probably mean as hell. And if you can't be any other way and survive out here in this country. But relating back to the park, to our testimony, one day I told them if they bought any more parks, we was going to shoot every damn one of them. So that's after we got what we got now. We're talking about west of I-35, but it's a privilege to be here. To me, this is a wonderful tribute, certainly not to just to Mr. Warnock, but to all of us. And to me, this is Texas, and we're working on the legislation now that where we can start a new state. Everything west of I-35 will be West Texas, and the rest of it, we don't care what Texas. Anyway, this is Texas, and this is what it's all about. I think because of the work that Mr. Warnock's done helping us to understand our relationship with the vegetation, we better understand how we as ranchmen can utilize this area, or possibly how the things we need to do to improve it. And because of your wonderful work, and because of the work of Bob Armstrong, I think probably without the untiredness, hard-headedness, everything you want to say bad about him, Bob Armstrong fits it all very well. But he's a dear friend and a person that is completely dedicated, not only to the West Texas and to this area, but also to the state of Texas. And Bob Armstrong, wherever you might be, we love you for it, and thank you very much. I think you slipped off. Well, you weren't that good looking when we were flying up. He put on his coat tie. But Bob Armstrong seriously has done more, in my opinion, to further the whole park system of Texas than anyone, and so I will shoot him right after I shoot all those parks and wildlife. Thank you so much, and we do appreciate being included in the program. Thank you very much.
I don't think I missed the mark there with the introduction. Our next speaker is a person who has been recognized before by several comments, and who has exercised some very important leadership for Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, has been a special friend of the Texas State Park System, our Commissioner, Mr. Bob Armstrong.
Really appreciate the kind words, and I doubly appreciate just the chance to be here. All my life I've thought that the best thing could happen would be to get off work and go west. I love this country, and have been privileged to get to be here more than some people. I've been privileged to get to introduce it to a lot of people that wouldn't have known about it had I not been able to take them out here. A lot of them have been House members and senators who I was trying to get on my program to see if this wouldn't be something that we wanted to preserve. I'll never forget taking one House member from Pasadena, Texas, which is right in the middle of all the oil refineries on the east of Houston. And he got out of the airplane and he went over and he stood on a rock and he looked all around and he said, "Boy, I don't trust breathing this air that you can't see." And I thought, yeah, how many people don't realize how magic it is. And I've been down the river with people from the Parks and Wildlife Commission, on the commission, that had never seen it. And without exception, they all share my love for it when they leave. It is tough country, but it's country that I think that is representative of the way Texas is. It's also resilient. If you can hang on, maybe it'll rain, and then things get real pretty. And so these are all things and lessons that you learn. It wasn't 25 years ago, Walter. It was, I think, 19 years ago that I first thought about this. Sometimes time seems to be longer when you're on the note, so that might make you think it took longer. But in any event, I know that I talked to Mr. Anderson one day, and I said, if you ever decide to get rid of it for whatever reason, I wish you'd give the state a chance at it. And he shared my view of that. At that time, we were subdividing everything in this country. Back then, people would buy it for $5 or $6 or $10 an acre, and then they'd sell it in New York through the newspapers for $100. And people up there never didn't know what they were buying. And anyhow, I just wanted to see this one kind of hopefully maybe left alone. And I thought it was special, and it is. And those of you who've been on it, and I guess many of you here have, will know it. I, along the way, not only got to know about the land, but I got to know about the people. And I think that one of my true heroes is the guy that we're going to name this thing for. Barton has so many talents and so much that's just beautiful about him. His attitude, his friendship, what he thinks of the land, what he thinks of the I don't think we could have a better person to do this. I, along the way, started taking pictures, and one thing that I'd kind of like to do is show you one that I think is one of the best I ever did. And I want to just show it to you, and I'll ask you to come up here and see it a little better sooner, but it's a picture of a guy working on a pitaya, and I hope we can get this one somewhere around this place framed and from me to him, because it's a great picture of what I call the plant guru of this part of the world. He's taught us all so much. He taught me that when you see a bunch of cholla in front of you, that the quick way is not just to run through it, hoping it won't get on you, but that you have to be a little more careful than that. And I just want to, in closing, say how pleased I am to be here and to thank Walter Misher, thank Andrew Sampson. Those were the guys that really put this thing together. I just had an idea back there and tried to herd it along for a long time. And then to thank the people like Bill Sims. We're in a stressful situation about politics, but there are good people who run for office. And I just believe that there are some people that make the word politician and serving in office worthwhile. And I think you all got them out here and you sent them to us, and I enjoy working with them. And we fuss about some things, but we always respect each other, and we always come out hopefully with the best solution. That's not always true of all the other people I deal with. But people from West Texas generally look you in the eye, say what they think, and it's worthwhile. So thank you for letting me on the program, and I'm just honored to be here, particularly since it's Barton. Thank you.
Who has a lot of innovative and creative ideas.
thank each of you. I guess there are two words that come to mind in listening to the other speakers, and I'll try to be as brief as I can, but I want you to know there are a few things I want to say, and I want to get through them. But those two words are vision and privilege. I pinch myself every day about my new job. I'm having a wonderful time, and those of you whom I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with out here know that part of the thing that makes this job so special for me is not only to learn more about the tremendous natural diversity and natural history of our state, but to meet its people, which are just as diverse. And you've heard from men of vision today, and I won't reintroduce them to you in the interest of time, but I do want to share some thoughts. And there are about the future. Because as I tried to think about what I would say to you this morning and the thoughts that I would share, you know, the future is what most immediately comes to mind. And I'll tell you why. Because as I travel throughout the state in my new job, what I'm hearing more and more from throughout Texas is the fact that these parks, natural areas, and our wildlife resources are part of the economic infrastructure of Texas. They mean jobs, they mean visitors, and they mean health and vitality for our economy. And that's certainly the way I feel about this occasion today and this project that we're working on together here. And there's probably no person in Texas who has given more inspiration to the notion that commitment to community, investment in community, and in the economic future than Walter Mischer. And he's been a tremendous, frankly, mentor for me in the past few years. And by the way, I'd like to pause for a moment and introduce Mary Mischer, who's here, and thank her as well for her help over the years. But I think that if I had a wish about the last part of the century, you know, in Brewster and Presidio counties, it would be that these resources that we have invested in and these projects that we have initiated here would make true economic contributions to this region. And I want you to understand that we have a commitment to that. And the Senator has already heard from me on the subject, and that we will be pushing very hard in the spring to develop for Texas an economic development program based on outdoor recreation and conservation resources, starting right here in the Trans-Pecos. The second concept that comes to my mind this morning is that of partnership. There's probably never been a period of history in at least of our institution, the Parks and Wildlife Department, when we had a greater demand for the things that we do for Texas and a more difficult situation in terms of our revenues and economy. We're having an extremely difficult time trying to figure out how we're going to be able to come up with the resources necessary to do the job that people are demanding that we do. And in order to do that, we're going to have to form partnerships with other institutions, both public and private. And this relationship here that we embark upon today in this museum is probably as good an example of that as we can find in a model for the future. And I can't tell you how much we look forward to working with both the National Park and the Big Bend Natural History Association to do more than operate a building, but to interpret a region, which frankly will stretch all the way from the eastern end of our Black Gap Wildlife Management Area to Presidio along the river. And it will be in the days to come, in the years ahead, a place for people to come and visit and learn more about Texas because of that partnership. And an equally important aspect of it is the volunteers. I guess one of the most exciting things for me this morning was to meet people like Ms. Chenoweth and Ms. Smith, who have been for years volunteers in this building, and to hear that they're excited about the future, and they're excited about continuing to assist in that way, because frankly we depend on them. And as we open our new area across the mountain there, we'll have other opportunities for local people to help us put this great project together, and we want you to know how important that service is to us. And finally, I guess I'm really the beneficiary of this partnership, because I've been just about as pleased as I can be to announce to you today that we plan to open this park with the approval of our commission next week in January, and we will begin to open it, frankly, on a concept that Dr. Warnock first advanced to Mr. Mischer and I several months ago when we came out here together, and that is to provide both an opportunity here and at Fort Leaton in Presidio for members of the public to come and get on a bus and go up into the park and begin to see it early. You know, normally it takes us sometimes 20 years to open a park of this size because of the enormous amount of capital investment that a traditional state park requires. And we just can't do that. We don't have the money, we don't have the time, and we realize that our investment requires that we get some economic vitality, some visitation back into this community. And of particular pleasure is that in order to make that work and to continue to solidify our relationships with the community and to excite people about coming here, it gives me great pleasure to tell you this morning that we've been able to lure my friend and colleague Jim Carrico away from the National Park Service to head up that effort in the region. Jim. My daddy always told me never to get mixed up with the federal government. And that's been a kind of a watchword for me through the years. But I can tell you that one of the things that impressed me the most is the manner in which, and the style and the commitment that Jim has had to this community and the goodwill that he has generated here during his tenure. And we feel very, very pleased and honored that he will join us in the future to help pull this project off. Finally, back to vision. It's a rare opportunity and again a privilege to have the opportunity and the chance to honor someone who is clearly ahead of his time. You know, as Bob Armstrong said, one of the things that he has done through his long commitment to this area is simply tell people that it's here. And what's happening now out in other parts of Texas is that there's clearly a growing interest. Something like 98 to 99% of the people of Texas tell us that they are interested in natural resources. They're interested in their environment. They're interested in endangered species. And they want us to do more to protect them. And today we are particularly honored to have the opportunity to honor someone who has been telling us that for many, many years. And the rest of us have finally caught up with him, and we have the opportunity to thank him for that service today. When I first began with Bob Armstrong's guidance and leadership to work in this region and try to develop its recreation and wildlife resources, landowner after landowner would tell me when I asked permission to come on their property, you better check with Dr. Warnock. If he says it's okay, you can come on my land. And it was at that time that I began to realize the tremendous regard that the people of this region had for a natural historian. At the same time, I must tell you that one of the great pleasures of my job is to be in the field occasionally, not very often, but occasionally with an expert that can tell you what a particular plant is and what its ecology is and why it occurs here and not in East Texas. And Dr. Warnock is clearly one of those men, and not only known by every rancher and certainly every student that ever went to Sul Ross, but frankly he's a giant in his field and known throughout Texas. And it is an extraordinary opportunity for us to be able to share and honor him in the opening of this new facility. His leadership has led us into a time, as we come to the end of our century, where we are finally going to be able to develop these resources for the people of our state. Not only our natural heritage, but our cultural heritage here along the river with Mexico, and the ranching heritage that has meant so much to many of us over the years. Most importantly, it gives us the opportunity to capture the essence of our land, our sense of place, and our way of life for our children. And hopefully, one of the things that I look forward to most is to bringing my own children and my grandchildren out here and introduce to them the legacy of Dr. Barton Warnock. And it's an honor today, sir, to participate in naming this facility for you.
Great day. It has a lot of happiness and sorrow too. But before I tell you what little I want you to know about me, Jim Carrico doesn't know that in 1935 I was thumping around all over those Jesus Mountains long before it was a park, and I haven't stopped. If I keep living, I've got another big project, and that's this Big Bend Ranch State Natural Area. I'm having an awful lot of fun working over there, and I enjoy working with people that I think, appreciate it. And I'm honored that you people from the park, the wildlife, have named this place the Barton Warnock Environmental Education Center. That sounds pretty good. But as I think what's going to happen, 10 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting two of the nicest people that I know, and that's Mr. Misher and Mary. And they were sitting down on the back of the cavalry post, a little picnic area. I came along and sat down by them. They had some kind of stew or something in a jar, and I had a cheese and ham sandwich. And we got to talking, and I told him I'd like to have a desert garden down here. What do you think about it? And he told you something about it, but I began taking pictures after we got this thing underway, and I have a whole series of color pictures from the time I met the Mishers until we got through at this museum. It was really exciting, and I showed those pictures to the Parks and Wildlife people that do the work, and so they'd know something about this building. And it's really a pleasure for me to realize that Parks and Wildlife have a real Chihuahuan desert gym in this facility here. This is really a wonderful education part, because we fell heir to a museum that came from up around St. Anthony, Texas, not Anthony, but up there close to Fort Hancock. And Mr. Mitchell was out in California, I think, and I had talked this guy into giving us this museum. And I then got in touch with Mr. Mitchell and said, what do you think about it? And he was very excited, as he always is, and it was very helpful. And so we wound up with this Joe Brown museum, 17 truckloads that are brought down here. And that's enough to start 2 or 3 museums. But we used a lot of it. And I can't tell you all these. There's a whole book. If I told you all that's happened to me in 10 years, and most of it's been very pleasant. And I'm so happy and so honored that the Parks and Wildlife people have this, because Mr. Mish and I are getting older, and now we've got new blood to go in here. This so-called environmental part is where we live. And we've got a good start out there in the garden, and this educational facility, I think, is very nice.